Today, our task is to solve this equation. The equation is x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And we need to find the values of x that make this true. There is some number that makes this true. There is some other number that makes this true. How do I know there are two numbers that make this true? Let's not worry about that right now. Let's pretend we know that there are two numbers that make this true. How are we going to find them? We are going to use an amazing thing called the zero product property. And here's what the zero product property tells us. The zero product property says that if I have two different numbers and I multiply them together and I get 0, that one or both of those numbers must be 0. Could be both. A could be 0, B could be 0. Or it could be one of them. A could be 395. If A is 395, then B has to equal 0, because the product of those two numbers is 0. B could be negative 2.175. If B equals negative 2.175, then A has to equal 0, because the product of those two numbers is 0. How are we going to use that in our original equation? We have a little problem here, which is that there are no factors. I need an equation that looks like this. Some number times some number equals 0. If I'm going to use the zero product property, then I need a product of two numbers. But that isn't what we have here. We have the sum of three terms equals 0. What are we going to do? Well, believe it or not, you already have the power. What you're going to do is you're going to turn this into two factors. You already studied factoring quadratic trinomials. So let's factor that. Well, you know how to do that. You're looking for two numbers that when you multiply them together, you get 6, and when you add them together, you get 5. Well, what are those two numbers? Those two numbers are 2 and 3. So, x plus 2 times x plus 3 is equivalent to x squared plus 5x plus 6. So I have not changed the value of the left side of this equation. All I've done is rewritten it in another form. I've rewritten it in a form that is convenient for me because I now have two factors. Alright, so the zero product property tells me that either the first factor equals 0 or the second factor equals 0. And all we have to do to find out the values of x that make those two equations true is solve the equations. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides of this equation, and I get x equals negative 2. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides of this equation, and I get x equals negative 3. Those are my candidates. Those are what I think my solutions are. How will I determine if those are truly the solutions? I will check my work. How do I check my work? Well, it says right here what to do. Substitute your solutions into the original equation. I'm going to take my original equation, x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And I'm going to substitute x equals -2 in there. Alright, so let's put -2 in. Everywhere we see an x, we'll put a -2 in, and we'll see what we get. Remember, we're going to use the hypothetical equal sign. We think that the left side and the right side are equivalent. We're not sure. That's our hypothesis. We're going to try that out right now. -2 squared is 4. 5 times -2 is -10. 6 is 6. 0 is 0. What do I get when I combine 4 and -10? I get -6. Is it true that -6 plus 6 equals 0? Yes, it is. So I have found a solution. Let's go check the other candidate to see if it's true. So now I'm going to take x equals -3 and substitute it into my original equation and see if my equation works out. So let's take -3 and we'll substitute it for x. Let's take -3 again, substitute it for x, and see if I get a true sentence. This is a hypothesis that these two things are equal to each other. I'm going to test that now by simplifying the left-hand side. -3 squared is 9. 5 times -3 is -15. 6 is 6. 0 is 0. And I'm going to simplify that little sum right there. 9 plus -15 gives me -6. Is it true that -6 plus 6 equals 0? Yes, it is. So I have identified my other solution. And I'm going to write that down as a single solution using a red box. Let's see, where should I put that? Let's put that right up here. My solutions. The answer to this question, x equals -2 or x equals -3. I have done my work. I have checked my results. There's the answer.